Lakers fans have been riding a roller coaster lately, and the latest stretch of games has only reinforced one thing about this team. They're learning how to win in different ways, even when everything seems to be going wrong. The recent matchup against Houston was a perfect example of that. It was far from pretty, far from efficient, and honestly, it looked like one of those nights where nothing clicks. Shots weren't falling, the rhythm was off, and for long stretches it felt like the team was doing everything possible to hand the game away. And yet, somehow, they still found a way to walk out with the win. That kind of performance says a lot about where this team is right now. Earlier in the season, a game like that probably slips away. But now, there's a different level of resilience, a different mindset that allows them to stay locked in even when the offense isn't cooperating. It's not just about dominating opponents anymore. We've already seen that they can blow teams out when everything is clicking, when the pace is right, when the shots are dropping. What's more important, especially this late in the season, is the ability to grind out wins, to stay composed in tight situations, and to capitalize when the other team starts to crack under pressure. And that's exactly what happened. Houston didn't just lose control of the game. They completely unraveled when it mattered most. The Lakers stayed just close enough, just disciplined enough, and when the opportunity presented itself, they took over. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't dominant, but it was effective. And in a playoff race where every game carries weight, that kind of win can be just as valuable as a statement blowout. But here's the reality heading into the next matchup. Things are not going to look the same. Houston is going to come back with adjustments. That's the nature of this league, especially when teams face each other in back-to-back situations. You expose a weakness, you exploit it, and then the opponent goes back to the drawing board to figure out how to counter it. So the Lakers can't just expect to roll out the same approach and get the same result. There has to be a level of anticipation, a willingness to adapt before the game even starts. One of the biggest talking points coming out of that last game was the defensive pressure, especially when it came to trapping and doubling the primary scoring threats. It disrupted Houston's rhythm in a major way, forcing rush decisions, bad passes, and ultimately breaking their offensive flow. The question now becomes whether the Lakers should go right back to that strategy from the opening tip or hold on to it as a situational weapon for later in the game. There's a strong argument on both sides. On one hand, if something worked that effectively, why wait? If Houston hasn't solved it, you could put them in the same uncomfortable position right away and potentially build a lead before they even have time to react. There's a certain logic in not overthinking it, in sticking with what gave you the advantage and daring the opponent to prove they can handle it. On the other hand, there's value in patience. Holding back that kind of defensive pressure could give the Lakers a strategic edge in crunch time. Imagine a close game in the final minutes, where every possession matters, and suddenly that same aggressive trapping scheme is unleashed again. If Houston hasn't fully figured it out, it could completely swing the outcome in those critical moments. It becomes less about repetition and more about timing, about choosing the exact moment to disrupt everything. What makes this even more interesting is how Houston might try to respond. Adjustments are coming, no doubt about it. You can expect more movement off the ball, more attempts to create passing lanes, and likely a focus on positioning players in spots where they can quickly relieve pressure. There will probably be efforts to bring help to the middle of the floor, to create outlets that weren't there before. The goal will be to avoid getting trapped in those same situations that led to their collapse. That's where the Lakers' defensive versatility becomes so important. It's not just about applying pressure. It's about how quickly they can rotate, how well they can read the play as it develops, and how effectively they can close off those secondary options. When you have players who can cover ground, switch assignments, and still recover in time to contest, it allows you to take risks defensively without completely exposing yourself. There were moments in that last game where that balance was on full display. When the trap came, the rotations behind it were just as critical. Cutting off passing lanes, protecting the paint, and staying disciplined enough not to overcommit all played a role in forcing Houston into mistakes. That's not something you can rely on casually. It takes coordination, communication, and a clear understanding of roles on every possession. And that's why this next game becomes such a fascinating test. It's not just about whether the Lakers can execute the same strategy again, but whether they can stay one step ahead in the adjustment battle. Because at this stage of the season, it's no longer just about effort. Every team is bringing intensity. Every team understands what's at stake. The difference comes down to execution, decision-making, and the ability to adapt in real time. The stakes couldn't be higher either. This isn't just another regular season game that you can brush off and move on from. Positioning in the standings is on the line, and games like this can shift the entire outlook of the playoff picture. A win doesn't just add another number to the column, it gives control. It puts the Lakers in a position where their destiny is in their own hands, where they don't have to rely on other results to secure their spot. That kind of control is everything this late in the season, because once you have it, the pressure shifts. Instead of chasing, you're being chased. Instead of hoping for outcomes, you're dictating them. And that's exactly where the Lakers want to be as they continue this push toward the postseason. And when you look at what's at stake in this next game, it becomes even clearer why the approach has to be sharp from the very first possession. This is not just about maintaining momentum, it's about establishing control over the situation. Because if the Lakers come out flat, if they allow Houston to dictate the tempo early, then everything becomes more complicated as the game progresses. You're no longer playing from a position of strength, you're reacting, and that's exactly where Houston will want you. At the same time, you can almost guarantee that Houston is going to bring a completely different level of urgency. Teams rarely respond well after a collapse like the one they just had, especially on their home floor. Pride kicks in, adjustments are made, and the energy level rises immediately. So the Lakers have to match that intensity, not wait to see how the game unfolds, but set the tone themselves. Because if they don't, they risk getting caught in a situation where they're trying to dig out of an early hole against a team that's desperate to respond. Defensively, the key will be discipline. It's one thing to be aggressive, to apply pressure and force turnovers, but it's another to do it without breaking your structure. Houston is going to look for cracks, especially if they anticipate the same trapping schemes. They'll try to bait rotations, move the ball quicker, and create mismatches if the defense overcommits. So the Lakers have to stay connected, making sure that every rotation has a purpose and that no one is left scrambling without support. There's also the question of personnel and how certain lineups can influence the flow of the game. When you have players who can switch across multiple positions, who can guard on the perimeter and still recover inside, it opens up more possibilities defensively. It allows the Lakers to disguise their intentions, to show one look and then shift into another without giving Houston a clear read. That kind of flexibility can disrupt even the best adjustments if it's executed properly. Offensively, there's an opportunity here that can't be overlooked. If Houston is so focused on solving the defensive pressure, it can create openings on the other end of the floor. Transition opportunities, mismatches, and moments where the defense isn't fully set can all be exploited if the Lakers stay alert. This is where pace becomes a weapon. Pushing the ball at the right moments, recognizing when the defense is vulnerable, and capitalizing before they can recover could be the difference in building a lead instead of constantly playing from behind. But again, it all circles back to consistency. Not just in effort, but in execution. The Lakers have already proven they can win in multiple ways, whether it's a dominant performance or a gritty, hard-fought battle. Now it's about bringing those elements together in a more complete performance. Because against a team that's adjusting, that's motivated, and that understands the importance of this game, anything less than that could leave the door open. And that door is exactly what the Lakers need to keep closed. Because if they take care of business here, they put themselves in a position where everything becomes more manageable down the stretch. The pressure shifts entirely onto the teams chasing them, and suddenly the margin for error becomes much smaller for everyone else. That's the advantage of handling your own responsibilities at this stage of the season. On the flip side, if they let this one slip, things get complicated quickly. Not impossible, but definitely more uncertain. Now you're relying on other results. You're hoping for favorable outcomes elsewhere, and you're putting yourself in a position where every remaining game feels like a must-win. That's not where you want to be when the season is winding down and every team is fighting for position. So the focus has to be clear. Start strong, stay disciplined, and be ready to adjust when Houston makes their move. Because they will make a push at some point, that's almost guaranteed. The question is whether the Lakers can absorb that push and respond in real time, or if they'll let it shift the momentum. That's where games like this are decided, not just in the initial strategy, but in the ability to react under pressure. And if there's one thing this team has been showing recently, it's that they're becoming more comfortable in those moments. They're not panicking when things get tight. They're not losing focus when the game starts to swing. Instead, they're finding ways to steady themselves, to execute just enough to stay in control. That growth is what makes this stretch so important, because it's not just about winning games, it's about building habits that will carry into the postseason. Looking closer at the matchup, one of the biggest keys will be how the Lakers handle the high-pressure moments when Houston inevitably tries to force turnovers and speed up the pace. The Rockets thrive on creating chaos, pushing teams into rush decisions, and taking advantage of any lapse in focus. The Lakers have shown they can absorb that pressure before, but they need to do it while staying aggressive offensively. It's a delicate balance. You want to control the tempo without letting Houston dictate it, and that requires players to be sharp, communicate constantly, and trust in the rotations that have been working for them. Another element that could define this game is the Lakers' ability to manage matchups effectively. Houston will try to isolate their best scorers, test defensive switches, and create situations where quick decisions are required. That's why having versatile defenders on the floor is so important. Players who can cover multiple positions, rotate quickly, and still protect the rim give the Lakers the flexibility to react without panic. If they execute that properly, it allows them to take risks elsewhere on the court, knowing that the defense has a safety net built in to cover potential mistakes. Finally, the mental edge cannot be understated. This game is as much about confidence and momentum as it is about X's and O's. The Lakers have to walk into the arena believing they can control the game, that they can impose their will, and that no amount of early resistance from Houston will shake them. Every possession, every rotation, every decision counts. If they combine that mental focus with the tactical adjustments that worked in the last matchup, they have a real chance to take command early, dictate the flow, and leave Houston struggling to respond. This isn't just another game. It's a statement of how prepared and adaptable the Lakers can be when the stakes are highest. Before we continue, we ask that you leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Lakers updates. Moving on, the whispers are growing louder around the league, and this time they carry a familiar tone of ambition from Los Angeles. A new name has entered the conversation: Trey Murphy III. The dynamic forward, known for his length, shooting touch, and defensive upside, is quietly becoming a subject of intrigue among those who track the Lakers' constant pursuit of impact wings. League insiders suggest that Murphy's profile fits almost perfectly into what the Lakers have been missing: an athletic, floor-spacing presence capable of influencing both ends without demanding the ball. His ability to stretch defenses while also guarding multiple positions has reportedly caught the attention of decision-makers who are looking to reshape the roster with younger, more versatile pieces. The situation is still fluid, and nothing concrete has emerged, but the mere idea of Murphy being available, even hypothetically, has sparked internal discussions. The Lakers have long prioritized star power, yet there is a growing sense that complementary players like Murphy could be just as vital to sustaining a competitive core. His energy, combined with a rapidly evolving offensive game, makes him an intriguing target in a market where two-way wings are increasingly scarce. Stay informed exclusively about Los Angeles Lakers news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep receiving daily updates. Also, share your opinion on the news in the comments, as your contribution is crucial for the Lakers. Stay tuned for the next video.